Hello, Duke fans. Welcome into the Duke Blue Devils Insider Podcast, your daily podcast for all things Duke Blue Devils news. Just like every day, we thank you so much for tuning into the show today to get your latest on the Duke Blue Devils. My name is Hugh Strain, your daily host, as well as beat writer at Duke Blue Devils on SI. Happy to chat with you guys today, as well as every single day. We are counting down the days, counting down the hours until the Duke Blue Devils, the number one overall seed in the 2026 NCAA tournament, kick it off for their quest to earn a sixth national championship in program history. One of the most talented Duke teams of all time, one of the most analytically highly rated Duke teams of all time, and one of the most complete Duke teams I think we've seen here in the last few seasons. Duke will take on 16 seed Siena on Thursday at 2:50 p.m. Eastern time. That tip-off is slated for. That will be in Greenville, South Carolina. Presuming Duke takes down the Saints, the 16 seed, to advance to the round of 32, Duke will take on the winner of 8 seed Ohio State and 9 seed TCU. Check out yesterday's episode of the show where we talked a bit about Ohio State and a bit of an underrated team, I think, out of the East region, which is deemed so difficult. But nonetheless, Duke the favorite out of that conference. A lot of name brands in that conference. You got 2 seed UConn, 3 seed Michigan State, 4 seed Kansas, 5 seed St. John's, and 6 seed Louisville, all in the East region. Some legendary coaches on some of those teams as well. But nonetheless, Duke is the best team out of that squad. I think it's a bit overrated how difficult of a region it is for Duke to be, at least what it seems to be being made out to be consensus-wise. I do not think it's as strong of a region as a lot of folks around the sport are talking about, and I don't see a world, well, of course you can see a world, but I don't see a world where Duke's not the best team in that region, and I think especially at fully healthy, I think this is a region that Duke will run through fairly quickly, but obviously Duke is shorthanded, and that's where we're going with today's episode of the Duke Blue Devils Insider Podcast. Duke will be without officially 2 starters in the round of 64 against Siena. Patrick Ngongba, the sophomore center, and Caleb Foster, the junior guard, will both be out against the Saints for the round of 64. Again, this was all expected. Both have been out for the entire postseason so far, but now it has been made official. So Patrick Ngongba hasn't played since Duke's win at NC State on March 2nd. And Caleb Foster was injured in the first half of Duke's regular season finale against North Carolina on March 7th. Both missed the entirety of the ACC tournament. Duke obviously went on to win the ACC tournament for its 3rd and 4th season under John Shire. But Ngongba and Foster missed every game, both with foot injuries. Ngongba is dealing with foot soreness. It seems like the Duke program is just being overly cautious with him because he's been dealing with foot injuries really since his senior year of high school. It hindered him a good bit during his freshman season at Duke, limited him some time. So I think Duke just being extra careful, especially with how impactful of a player he is on this Duke roster. I think he's one of the most underrated, one of the most impactful players in college basketball. So I think Duke just being a little extra careful. But Foster's situation is a bit more serious. He has a fractured right foot. The expectation has always been for Ngongba to come back probably by the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. There is no clarity on whether Caleb Foster will be back this season at all. Even if Duke is able to make it to the Final Four or the national championship game, there is no guarantee that Caleb Foster will be back at any point in time. So Pat Ngongba and Caleb Foster will both be out against the Saints of Siena when Duke plays its round of 64 matchup. Once again, this was always anticipated. Now we just know it's a reality. Again, Caleb Foster was always 100%. He was never going to play, but there was some, I guess, uncertainty with Pat Ngongba. It was always kind of assumed he wouldn't play, but now it is official. This is a statement from John Shire on Wednesday. He told ESPN, quote, this is referring to Patrick Ngongba, quote, "He's been progressing, but think it's very unlikely that he plays Thursday. We're taking it day by day. He's itching to play, but we're not quite there just yet. We'll do everything we can to get ready for Saturday and go from there." So seems to be some optimism that John Shire will have Ngongba ready for the round of 32 if Duke takes down the 16 seed Siena. Who knows? But Ngongba has kind of flown under the radar as just sort of the center on this elite team, but he really is one of the most impactful players in college basketball, and the numbers reflect that. He's the biggest breakout candidate on this entire Duke team, and he's thrust himself into considerations to be a first-round pick in the 2026 NBA draft. So as a freshman, Ngongba averaged 10.6 minutes a night in 30 games played. This season he's averaging 22.4 minutes a night in 28 starts out of 29 games played. Obviously, he's missed a couple. His scoring has gone from 3.9 points per game to 10.7 points per game. He's gone from 2.7 rebounds to 6.0 rebounds, gone from less than an assist to 1.9 assists per game. That I think has been the most impressive development in his game is his passing ability. And he's gone from half a block a game to over a block a game to lead this Duke Blue Devils roster on 60% shooting from the field. He doesn't get a lot of attention just as a center down low, but he's so impactful, and he is a massive, massive part of this Blue Devils team defensively. So again, averaging almost 11 points per game with 6 rebounds and a block a night. According to EvanMia.com, Patrick Ngongba isn't just one of the most impactful players on this Duke roster. He's one of the most impactful players in the country. According to EvanMia.com, Ngongba is 6th in the country in defensive Bayesian performance rating, which is the highest rated Blue Devil on the roster. That metric essentially measures a player's defensive value while he is on the floor versus while he is not. Ngongba is 6th in the entire nation. He's 8th in the nation in total Bayesian performance rating, which takes a player's total value, both offense and on defense, versus when he's on the floor versus when he's not. So by the advanced numbers, Patrick Ngongba is one of the most impactful and one of the biggest difference makers in college basketball, and Duke will now be without him for at least the round of 64. Now, Siena is one of the smallest teams in the entire country. Duke isn't giving up as much size down low as it will in later games when it will need Ngongba back even more. But it's obviously just a huge hit just because Patrick Ngongba is such a difference maker, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. He can switch onto the perimeter when he needs to, but obviously such a force down low. He's a great shot blocker. He uses his body really, really well and disrupts pick and rolls with ease, it feels like. He's such an impactful player on both sides of the ball. He's not even a great pure athlete. He just has a really high basketball IQ. And the numbers speak for itself. Just a really, really impactful player on the defensive side of the ball. He's great in the pick and roll on offense. He's using his body and his feet, I think, so much better than he did as a rookie. But the main thing with him is just he's changed so much as a player overall. And I think he's one of the biggest breakout candidates really in the country. He's not going to get attention just because the numbers don't speak for themselves, but the advanced analytics show how impactful he really is and just how crucial he is to this team. And again, I think the round of 64 won't mean that much, but even as quickly as the round of 32, I think they're going to need him back against playing either Ohio State or TCU, two battle-tested clubs with experience on their rosters and have some pretty quality wins on the season. TCU coming from the Big 12, obviously, Ohio State from the Big 10, probably the two best conferences in college basketball this year. I think could be a major problem if Duke does not have Ngongba back by Saturday. And then obviously for Foster, he will be out for the foreseeable future and potentially the rest of the entire season with that fractured right foot. He's been trying to, he's been itching to get out and play. Shire said something similar about him the other day, but it just doesn't seem very likely that he's going to be able to do so. I mean, a fractured foot is a fairly serious injury, and I think there's more skepticism than hope that Foster will be back at some point this season, which obviously will pay major, major dividends if Duke is lucky enough to advance to the second and third weekends of the NCAA tournament. And, it's not as simple as Duke is just losing two starters. It's losing two veterans on a very young team. These are two guys, Ngongba and Foster, who were both on the team last year, won an ACC championship, made the Final Four, went through that collapse against Houston in the Final Four, went through that heartbreak. Now they're back. They have the experience. They've been there before. Both of them have. And now both of them are out of the lineup, which makes this Duke team very, very young, very, very fast. The starting lineup, I think you can project to be Caden Boozer at the point. You got Isaiah Evans, Dame Sarr, Cam Boozer, and Malik Brown at the 5. So not as only Duke giving up size at the 5 spot with Malik Brown at just 6'9" versus Ngongba, but it's very, very, very young. And Caden Boozer was fantastic in the ACC tournament semifinals and championship against Virginia. He played all 40 minutes in that conference title game, but he's a freshman trying to lead you to 6 straight wins in the NCAA tournament. That is extremely difficult to do at the point guard spot, regardless of how elite of a player he may be and how talented of a player he may be. Guards are more important in March. They're very important. They're crucial for success. And Caden Boozer has 0 NCAA tournament experience, given he's a freshman. Obviously, Caleb Foster has been there twice now. He won the ACC tournament last year. Granted, he somewhat fell out of the rotation as a sophomore, but he's a guy that knows what it feels like. And Duke is now leaving that experience, that veteran leadership behind, and it gets really, really young, really, really quick. Again, as we go further down the road, if Duke keeps winning in the NCAA tournament, these injuries will play more of a factor, likely will not be much of a factor against Siena. This is just where we stand right now. Ngongba and Foster both out in the round of 64 for Duke, the 1 seeds matchup against 16 seed Siena. That is going to do it for us here today at the Duke Blue Devils Insider Podcast. Just like every day, we thank you so much for tuning into the show today. To get your latest on the Duke Blue Devils, make sure to check us out every day at si.com/college/Duke to get your latest on the Blue Devils. My name is Hugh Strain, your daily host, as well as beat writer at Duke Blue Devils on SI. I'll see you tomorrow.